Welcome to Hip Hop Production Techniques Part 1. During the course of this series of tutorial videos, I'll be covering personal techniques and some research methods on the production of a hip hop track using computer software and DAWs. This first episode will focus on how I begin the sampling process and how I prepare a sample. So to prepare a sample, I use a program called Recycle, and I use Recycle to slice the audio into chunks, which are then ready to be triggered and sequenced later on in another software, which will be Reason. So let me start by opening my Recycle project, and the audio file I have loaded into it at the moment is an Al Green song called Love and Happiness. So let's just quickly hear a small piece of the song.
Love and happiness. But wait a minute, something's going.
Okay, so this song is going to be the basis for the track we're going to be producing. This is the sample it's all going to be built on, because hip hop as a genre is strongly based on working with samples. So let's start by finding our first loop, and the loop I'm going to be creating now is the loop I'll be using for the intro part of our song. So as you can see here, I've already inserted one slice because this is where I want to start my loop from, and I'm now going to zoom in a little bit closer so we can see the transients of the waveform more precisely. So to zoom in, hold Command on the keyboard and then just simply click with the mouse, and that's a lot clearer now. We can see what we're doing a lot more. So to insert the slices, press R on the keyboard and it will change the icon to a little slicing tool, and you can then insert slices just by clicking on the screen. Okay. Now the way I like to usually insert my slices is by inserting them at the transient of every kick and snare. The reason I do this is because it chops the audio at each beat, which then makes it easier to sequence to the tempo of our project in Reason. Okay, so I'm going to press Q on the keyboard and that will change it back to the speaker icon so we can audition the audio, and then we'll work out where these kicks and snares are and then start slicing it up. Okay, so that's our loop. That's our 2-bar loop that we'll be using, and then I'll be looping that in the Reason project later. Let's hear that again. Okay, so I know the first snare was present at that transient, and then I think the kick came about here. Okay. And you can see that once you have a few slices in place, it becomes easier to work out where the next one is going to be visually, based on the pattern that you can see, the space in between each slice. There's a pattern to the rhythm there, so it's roughly always about the same amount of space. When you see a peak, it's likely to be the next transient that you're looking to slice. So I think that will be about right. Let me check that now. Kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare. Okay, perfect. So the next thing to do is to crop our loop. So to do that, I'm going to zoom out first by holding Command, Option, and then clicking the mouse, so we can see the entire waveform. And I'm going to drag the left loop point and the right loop point to the start and end slices of our loop, and there we've cropped our loop. So now that we've cropped our loop, we can work out the tempo of it. So to do this, I'm going to go to the top where it says bars, and we'll enter the amount of bars that the loop contains, which is 2 bars. And as you can see, it's calculated the tempo at 96.6 BPM, and it's calculated that based on the length of the loop and how many bars it contains. So a perfect 2-bar loop. So we can then save that and then open that in Reason. Before I finish, let me just quickly show you another example, a pre-made example of another recycle project I have, which will be another one of our loops in this project, a loop that I want to use for one of the verses. Zoom in on this. Here you can see the loop that I've cropped. That's going to sound really cool. Okay, so thank you for watching episode 1 of Hip Hop Production Techniques.